Welcome back to 100 Days of Pixelmon. In today's video, we're going to be playing through Pixelmon, but not on a server, in a survival single player world. And without further ado, before we jump into the video, I just want to say thank you guys so much for all of the support on my recent videos. I've almost hit 80k views on one of my 100 Day Pixelmon videos, which is absolutely insane. And we recently hit 1.8k subscribers. And we're so close to 2,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribing to the channel to stay tuned for more videos like this. And lastly, before we jump into the video, I just want to say I apologise for being a bit late on this video. It's been almost 2 months since my last upload, but along with this video, I've got a couple more videos in the works, which will be pumped out to you guys very soon. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's jump right into 100 Days of Pixelmon Survival. On day 1, I created my world and jumped straight into the world of Pixelmon. When I started, I was given a choice of a starter Pokemon, so of course I picked my boy Trico. After loading in, I didn't waste any time. I said hello to my new starter buddy Trico, and then I started chopping down some trees. After grabbing the wood, I started exploring and ran into a wild Meowth. But unfortunately I couldn't escape and it killed my Trico, so I had to quickly rush to the nearest Pokemon Center. After finding a village with a Pokemon Center, I went in and healed Trico straight away. After exploring the village, I found a couple apricorns which I'd need later to build Pokeballs. After exploring a little bit, I went over to a nearby river and started training up my Trico on some Magikarps. After leveling a little bit, when night was falling, an Ultra Space wormhole appeared, so I towered up with the wood that I had and I jumped into Ultra Space. After exploring a little bit, I found the Feather Gym, but I was nowhere near ready to defeat this, so I quickly left. After leaving the gym, I accidentally fell, and unfortunately I was teleported out of Ultra Space. After heading back to do more training, I came across a shiny Hoppip, and I really wanted to catch this with the one Premier Ball that I had obtained, so I chased it very far. But unfortunately, by the time I caught up to it, it had despawned in the middle of the night. So I accepted defeat and made my way home. The next day I woke up to a Snubbull raid den, so of course I took it on with my Trico. After defeating the raid den, I got a big mushroom and some small XP candies. After completing the raid den, I then came across another Ultra Space wormhole, so I went through to explore a bit more. I then came across this really weird ruin that had the time-space altar, which would be used to summon Dialga, Palkia, Giratina and Arceus. I then came across an end city, so I went in to explore and found a lot of good loot. Although I did have to deal with the most annoying noise of the shulkers, just constantly firing at me. They were so annoying. After finding a bunch of good gear, I then went up to the end city ship and managed to obtain the Elytra. Along with the Elytra, I ended up leaving the city with a bunch of really good iron and diamond tools, along with some pretty good armor as well. After leaving the end city, I headed back to the overworld and found a boss Centric, but it absolutely clapped me and I got one hit. So I rushed back to the Pokemon Center to drop off all my loot and heal up Trico. After doing a bit more training, my Trico finally evolved into the Grovyle. After leveling up Grovyle a little bit, I headed back to the village, went to the Pokemon and sold all of my loot that I got from the end cities, just so I'd have a bit of money to buy Pokeballs. After buying a few Ultra Balls and Pokeballs, I then went out and caught my first Pokemon, a Miltank. I then explored the land a little bit further and caught myself a Houndour. And on my way back, I managed to find a shiny Geodude, which I didn't fail this time, and I caught my first shiny. I then came across a couple Staravias that were just spinning on the spot, so I decided to catch one. Whilst heading back through the forest, I ran into this weird little wooden tree, so I went inside and found a Master Ball loot. And to my surprise, I actually managed to get a Master Ball. This was going to be amazing for if I ran into any legendaries. After getting the Master Ball, I then encountered a water gym. So I headed in, defeated all the trainers with Grovyle, and headed up to fight the gym leader.
Grovyle.
Which, luckily, with the power of my team, I managed to win. And with that, I obtained the Cascade Badge. After exploring a little bit more, I ran into a Voltage gym, so of course I headed inside and after fighting some of the trainers, my Geodude evolved into a Graveler. After getting the Graveler, I then ran the Trade Sim command and evolved Graveler into a Golem. After making it through the maze, I then headed into the gym leader's area, but the gym leader was invisible, so it kind of caught me off guard when I ended up in the battle. But luckily with my new evolved Golem, I made easy work of the electric gym, getting the Thunder badge. On my way home, I then encountered a Ghastly and a Purugly, which I caught both of. And when I was almost home, to my surprise, a wild legendary Thundurus spawned. So, of course, I climbed up the trees and got into a battle with it. Unfortunately, it killed all my Pokemon and I didn't manage to catch it. And I didn't really want to waste my Master Ball on this Thundurus, because there were better legendaries that I kind of wanted. So I headed home and accepted my defeat. And then of course the game had to mock me a bit more by putting a raid den right by me that had another one of the Weather Trio. Once I'd made it home, I farmed up some apricorns. And then when I went out to do some more training, I came across this weird Zorua. So of course I caught it, and it turns out it was an altered form Zorua. After completing some more training, I spent the entire night trying to fight this new boss Manetric that I just encountered, which I finally managed to kill and got a Mega Stone. So I decided to go out exploring a little bit and found myself a Mega Boss Tyranitar, which of course I wasn't going to battle, so I just let it be. After scaling the rest of the mountain, I then encountered a Riolu, and you guys already know I had to catch that one. While still on my journey, I then came across this weird Magikarp structure in the water, so I went inside and got some loot. Which I managed to come out with some pretty cool stuff, but it was mostly just water gems, shell bells, a couple mystic waters, and a bunch of fishing rods. After making my way outside, I then noticed an old fisherman, so I took all of my fishing rods and got them appraised by him. I I then came across another structure in the water, but it was more of a boat this time. Went inside and was pretty much the same stuff as before. I then came across a really cool looking island, so I decided that I wanted to base there. So I headed back to my Pokemon Center, gathered up all of my items and headed to the island. After making it back to the island, I placed down all of my storage. And then I encountered a wild Turtwig, so I jumped in a battle and attempted to catch it.
Binacle.
After catching the Turtwig, I then started mining a bunch of wood, as I wanted to make a little camp area as my house on this island. After clearing out some area and farming a lot of wood, I then made a little campsite. After completing my campsite, I was just going to show you guys what it looked like, but then I came across a legendary Xerneas that spawned right outside of my camp, so obviously I had to try and catch that. And I didn't really want to use my Master Ball for this one, so I just used all of the Pokeballs that I had, and I actually managed to catch it with just a Pokeball. I was over the moon, and I finally had my first legendary, a legendary Xerneas. After catching the Xerneas, I then made up a Pokemon healer to put inside of my camp. Once I'd placed the Pokemon healer, I then decided that I wanted to do some training. Whilst I was training, a wild Latios spawned, but unfortunately it escaped from me and I couldn't find it. After doing some more training, I then came across a Mega Boss Alakazam. Which I eventually managed to kill, and got myself a wishing piece and a Mega Stone. And these were the levels I managed to get my guys to. Once again, you guys know the drill by now. I found an Ultra Space wormhole, so I had to jump in there and find myself a bunch more loot. grabbing myself another 2 elytras in the process. On my way down from collecting another elytra, I then encountered this weird looking Porygon too. So I got in a fight with it, attempted to catch it. But once I caught it, it turns out that it was an altered formed Porygon. After catching the Porygon, I headed out of Ultra Space. But annoyingly, I ended up in the bottom of a ravine. So after mining my way out, I ran into a Zapdos shrine, which would be pretty cool for later if I managed to find myself an orb. After checking out the Zapdos shrine, I then ran into a 5-star raid den with a Scizor in it. And I defeated it, but unfortunately I couldn't catch it. After giving my Grovyle the XP from the Scizor raid den, he finally evolved into a Sceptile. I then also ended up finding another 5-star raid den with a Kabutops in. Which I eventually managed to defeat with Xerneas, getting myself a load more loot. And this time I managed to catch the Kabutops, which was pretty cool. This time I fed the XP candies to my Zorua and managed to evolve it into a Zoroark, and with this custom form it looked so cool. I continued on the theme and decided to take on another raid den that had a Sigilyph in it. After defeating it, I managed to get a little bit more loot and also managed to catch a Sigilyph. Whilst exploring a little bit more, I found a random Master Ball loot, which had an XP all in it. This was going to be crucial for the leveling of my team. After getting the XP all, I knew I wasn't ready to fight the Flying Gym yet, but I decided to farm its trainers to get a little bit of XP for my team. After leaving the gym, this was what my team was looking like. I didn't really know what else to do this day, so I decided to go back into the gym and keep fighting the trainers. And to my surprise, my Riolu finally evolved into a Lucario. I then decided with my new Lucario that I'd attempt to fight the gym, but unfortunately I got absolutely destroyed. So I gave up on that idea and continued my journey. As I was about to leave the gym, a wild Victini spawned. After finding the Victini, I went into battle with the intentions of catching it, but I got a little bit too brave and decided to get it really low, and I accidentally ended up killing it, which kinda sucked. I then started exploring a bit more and ran into this legendary boss Litleo, which I tried to kill, but it ended up absolutely clapping up my entire team. After healing up all my guys, I then ran into a Hooper raid den, and of course you guys already know I had to try and beat this. But unfortunately, the 3 randoms that I got were really bad, and I ended up being beaten. After continuing my exploration, I ran into a desert temple, so I went inside and managed to get myself a little bit of good loot, including a couple Arceus plates. When I got outside the temple though, there was a wild Cinderace that spawned, so I attempted to catch it. After catching the Cinderace, I ran into this weird structure with like an Arceus chalice inside. I didn't really know what to do with this, so I marked it down and continued my exploration, which led me into running into another Hooper den, so I tried my luck again. But unfortunately, history repeated itself, and I got absolutely clapped once again. After continuing my journey, I travelled over a bit of ocean and managed to find a Dratini, so obviously I had to catch that to get myself a Dragonite. After finally getting back to land, I ran into an Urshifu water temple, which was really cool looking, so I headed up to the top. I managed to get myself the flag needed to evolve a Kubfu to an Urshifu. And after travelling out of the tower, I was travelling through a little forest, and of course a Zacian spawned. This was awesome because Zacian is one of my favourite legendaries, so I headed into battle and attempted to catch it. After all of my team were defeated by Zacian, I threw a Hail Mary Pokeball and actually managed to catch it. This was absolutely insane. After healing up my team, I ran into this legendary boss Garchomp, so I tried to defeat it. After finally defeating the Garchomp with my new Zacian, I managed to get a Garchompite and another Arceus plate. I found myself then in an ice snow biome, where a Glastria spawned, but I accidentally killed it. After killing the pony, I then decided that I needed to get myself a flying type so I could fly around the map easily, so I caught a little fletchling. After catching the fletchling, I ran into an Articuno shrine. And then I managed to find a boss tower in the swamp biome, which led me to a mega boss Gengar. After defeating the Mega Boss Gengar, I headed home and evolved my Fletchling into a Fletchinder. Whilst at home, another Mega Boss Alakazam spawned, so I used my new Zacian to absolutely clap up the Alakazam. After getting the XP from the Mega Boss Alakazam, my Dratini finally evolved into a Dragonair. After evolving my Dragonair, I then ran into a weird coloured Bellsprout that was just completely pink, so of course I had to catch that. After doing some more training while exploring, my Fletchinder finally evolved into a Talonflame. So I hopped on the back and flew around to explore more. After flying around on Talonflame, I then ran into another pink Pokémon, which was a Rhyhorn. I then came across a village where I managed to get 2 more Arceus plates, and encountered a Mega Boss Blastoise, which I couldn't kill, and it absolutely clapped up my entire team. I then decided to do another raid den, because I encountered a Gabite raid den. After defeating it, I managed to get some decent loot and attempted to catch it, but unfortunately it broke out. I then sold all of the loot that I managed to get and managed to get 300k. So I bought myself a 64 stack of Quick Balls, Pokeballs and Ultra Balls. After leaving the village, I ran into a 4-star Ferroform raid den, so I defeated it and managed to get myself some pretty good loot. Whilst continuing my trend of completing raid dens, I then noticed something pop up in the chat, and it turns out that a legendary Hooper had spawned, so I went into battle and attempted to catch it. Unfortunately, I couldn't catch it, and I didn't really want to waste all of my Pokeballs on it, so I decided to just use the Master Ball. After catching Hooper with my only Master Ball, I then saw a Mega Boss Bayonet, so I killed it, and to my surprise, I cannot believe my luck, I managed to get another Master Ball. This luck was absolutely insane. After exploring around a little bit more, I encountered a Lunala raid den. So I defeated it, and I was tempted to use my Master Ball, but I wanted to save it for better legendaries. So I tried my luck with an Ultra Ball, but unfortunately I couldn't catch it. After the Lunala, I headed back to Ultra Space, found an End City, and on top of it was a Mega Boss Gengar. After defeating it, I ran into a gym, and it turns out that it was the Rock Gym. So I headed through, beat all the trainers, and then faced the gym leader. After Sceptile made quick work of the gym, I managed to get the Quick Badge. After my recent victory, I tried my luck again at the Flying Gym, and I managed to beat it with the help of Zacian. After that fight, I then encountered a Mega Boss Latias, which I managed to kill to get myself another Mega Stone. And to my surprise, after beating that Mega Boss, I then encountered a Wild Latias. So I attempted to catch it, but once again, another trend that's happening with this series right now. I keep on accidentally one-shotting the legendaries. I actually really wanted this Latias because I could have Mega Evolved it. After that, I then started doing some more raid dens. After completing a few more raid dens, I got a bunch of XP candy, which I used on Dragonair to evolve it into a Dragonite. Whilst travelling across the ocean, there were a lot of swimming trainers which had pretty good levels on them, so I decided that I'd use them to level up my entire team. Whilst leveling my team, I ran into another Mega Boss, and it was a Primal Kyogre. So I don't know why, but I tried my luck, and I got absolutely destroyed. After the Kyogre, I headed back to do some more Dynamax raids. After completing the Snorlax raid, I then encountered another legendary. This time it was an Entei. But unfortunately, while I was fighting it, I kind of got out of the battle, went to get back in the battle, and it despawned. But after it disappeared, I continued my adventure, completing a bunch of Dynamax raids. I then had an encounter with another shiny. This time it was a shiny Finneon. And unlike the Hoppip, I managed to catch this one. After finally making my way home, I emptied out all of my shulker boxes back in my home. After sorting out all of my chests, a legendary Suicune spawned, so I tried to catch it, but after using up all of my Pokeballs, I then had to resort to using the Master Ball. I then headed back to my old village to pick up some more Pokeballs, where I managed to kill another Mega Boss Alakazam, where I got this Hikaru Golden Lens, and it shows a bunch of different abilities, IVs, and stats of the Pokemon. I then managed to get a quest from this weird professor inside the Pokemon Center, who told me to complete a couple certain tasks. Which were to defeat Pokemon and battle trainers. Whilst training and battling, I then encountered another Mega Boss Gengar, so I killed that and managed to get some pretty good loot. After defeating the Gengar boss, I continued with battling trainers and catching Pokemon. Once I'd made it back to the village to talk to the professor again, I then came across a legendary Virizion. But unfortunately I wasn't able to catch it and ended up killing it again. After talking to the professor again, I then had to defeat more trainers. After finally defeating the final trainer, I headed back to speak to the professor. And she gave me a Dynamax band. After obtaining the Dynamax band, I went straight to the nearest raid den and tested it out with my Golem. I then just went round and defeated a couple more raid dens. Whilst exploring in a jungle, I then came across a Tapu Bulu that spawned. And I was going to try and catch this one, but I accidentally ended up killing it, because I was just too excited using my Dynamax band. I Dynamaxed my Dragonite and ended up one-hitting it. As night was falling, I was about to head back, but then I ran into a Mega Boss Sceptile. I knew I had to defeat this one, because then I'd be able to Mega my starter Pokemon. After defeating Sceptile, I finally managed to get the Sceptile. So I put it on my starter Pokemon and Mega Evolved Sceptile for the first time. After making my way home, I ran into a boss Ampharos, so I defeated it and managed to get myself another Mega Stone. I then decided I wanted to head through to the Nether just to see what it was like in there, so I made a portal, found myself a fortress and a 5-star raid den, so of course I had to do that. After beating the 5-star raid den, I then headed into the fortress and then did a bunch of looting, trying to find a couple more Arceus plates. Whilst looting, I ran into a Mega Boss Sableye. So I quickly defeated it with Zacian and managed to get myself a really cool Z Crystal and another Mega Stone. I then found a Mega Boss Bayonet. And I then encountered a legendary Heatran. But unfortunately it killed my entire team, so I wasn't able to catch it. I then came across another Mega Boss Sableye which dropped a Nether Star. After making my way outside of the Nether again back into the overworld, I then encountered another Mega Boss Ampharos on my home. So I quickly defeated that with Golem and got myself some XP candies. I then also defeated a Mega Boss Sableye which dropped another Arceus plate. While setting out to find all the Arceus plates, I ran into a mushroom biome and managed to get myself a Dynamax mushroom. I then continued my journey and managed to find the stronghold. Where I managed to find myself another Arceus plate. I then ran into a couple more Mega Pokemon, getting myself a couple more Arceus plates. I then encountered another Time-Space Altar. And found myself an igloo in the snow biome, so I headed inside and found a secret bunker, which of course had another Arceus plate inside. I knew there was still one more plate I could get from the igloos, so I searched around until I found another igloo, and I managed to find myself the last Arceus plate I needed from the igloos, the Icicle plate. After getting the Icicle plate, I only needed 5 more Arceus plates to complete the entire collection, so I was more determined than ever to collect every single one. And so with the newfound determination, I defeated a 5-star raid den Slacking. I then found myself a jungle temple, headed inside and managed to get the toxic plate and the meadow plate, another 2 plates that I didn't already have, meaning I only needed 3 more plates until I had the entire collection. I then spent the next few days defeating boss after boss, every single boss I could find, just to try and get these last 3 Arceus plates. Whilst hunting down all the boss Pokemon, I then encountered a shiny Ponyta, so I caught that and then continued my boss hunting. Finally, on day 100 I'd finally managed to get every single plate needed to summon Arceus. So I headed back to the Arceus cup that I'd found previously and inserted every single plate in. They then combined to create the Azure Flute, which is used to summon the legendary god Pokemon Arceus. So I headed back to the time-space altar and prepared to summon Arceus, the god of Pokemon. After entering the battle with Arceus, I wasted no time. I used the Park Ball that I'd previously got from one of the bosses and caught Arceus straight away, finally achieving my last goal of the 100 days, catch Arceus. After adding Arceus to my team, I gave him the splash plate, because he looked pretty cool in blue. After that, I got out my entire team and looked over them for the last time. That was it, guys. Thank you so much for watching my 100 days on Pixelmon Survival. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one, and if you do, remember to subscribe and smash that like button. See you guys in the next one.